Hey guys, Jeannine here with something fun for you guys. So I am a huge Scream fan. If you know me, I am obsessed with this franchise and I am so excited for Scream 6. So I thought it would be fun to do some videos on our channel, kind of sharing some stuff about Scream. I've done a bunch of TikToks talking about things I've noticed in the movies, my rankings for the films, my rankings for the killers, fun little things that I enjoy about the film. So today I'm going to do a video breaking down when the killer is Billy, when the killer is Stu, and their kind of motivations for each kill. I thought that would be kind of a fun video to talk about my theories on that. I've seen a ton of other people's kinds of videos talking about what they think, who was killing when, and stuff like that. So I thought it would be fun to kind of share my thoughts on that whole kind of debate, and keep a lookout throughout this month and next month for some fun Scream related content because I am obsessed with this franchise. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some of my theories, all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned for that. So let's get into the video. So, I originally thought that the first kills, the big kind of opening, was just Billy. But in kind of watching other people's perspectives, they had some really good points, and I've kind of come around on the idea that I think it is both Billy and Stu. I think in general, all the phone calls pretty much were made by Billy. He is kind of known to be more of the cinephile. If you hear that kind of whole ending aspect of Billy constantly bringing up movies, constantly comparing things to movies. So, when he's on the phone, that's all he's kind of talking to these people about. We also know him to be kind of a charmer and smooth, as opposed to Stu kind of being more kind of wild and hectic. Whereas Billy is kind of more smooth and flirtatious. He's flirting with Casey enough for her to pretend that she doesn't have a boyfriend. And that plays later in the video store when we see him flirting with those two girls.
Do you have a boyfriend?
No.
So, anytime I think they're talking to Ghostface, they are talking to Billy. So I think in this aspect, he's got Casey on the phone, he's talking to her, he's warming her up, while Stu's outside setting Steve up in the chair and all of that kind of stuff. So he's on the phone with her, he's outside, he's watching her, while Stu is setting up Steve in the chair, and I think Stu is the one who ultimately kills Steve. And he's the one when she gets outside, he's the one she sees inside the house kind of stalking around, and the one who kind of pops up at her at the window. And as she hits him in the face and runs away, that one that ultimately comes after her and gets her is Billy. I think a lot of fans have noticed the different kind of stabbing styles of both Billy and Stu. And there are actually kind of clear moments where we do 100% know when it's Billy and when it's Stu. So that can kind of confirm those styles. Stu seems to be a two-hand stabber, and Billy seems to also be a one-hand stabber. And props to Zach Cherry. He has a great horror channel on YouTube. He actually pointed something else out to kind of distinguish between the two. Billy seems to be a choker. He goes straight for the throat, straight for the jugular. If we see at the ending an unmasked Billy going straight for Sydney's neck to choke her. So anytime you see a Ghostface kind of going straight for choking somebody, it's probably Billy, because that's kind of his MO. You will just go straight for the stabby, slashing. So those are other factors to kind of distinguish when it's Billy and when it's Stu. So yes, the one who ultimately dispatches of Casey is Billy, but I think they are both there. And ultimately, I think it would take two people to hang her up on that tree. What always had made me think it was just Billy, because I think I got too hung up on Tatum kind of giving Stu that alibi that he was with her.
Stu was with me last night, okay?
Yeah, it was.
But then you have to kind of consider Randy calling out, well, was that before or after you sliced and diced? And then nobody really gives him an answer.
Was that before or after he sliced and diced?
Fuck you, nutcase. Where were you last night?
So this could have been before he went to see Tatum or after. But we do know that they weren't killed until after 10 o'clock.
It's past 7.
Don't worry, Casey and Steve didn't bite it till way after 10.
So that might be kind of late for him to go see Tatum, because after all this, I think both of them also were at Sydney's house. Billy goes into Sydney's window to distract her while Stu is dispatching and kidnapping Mr. Prescott, Neil Prescott. Because if we see the outfit that Neil is wearing when he says goodbye to Sydney, says goodnight to her, it's the same outfit he's wearing in the finale. So we know this is when he probably got kidnapped, and Billy is just distracting Sydney while Stu kidnaps Mr. Prescott, takes his keys in his car, and, you know, locks him away at his house because he probably never has parents around, or his sister apparently that he has, but we did not know about. So, yeah, I think they are also both at Sydney's house. So, depending on how much time this took, you know, for them to kill Casey after 10 o'clock and then come to Sydney's house after that, I think it would be very late for him then to go hang out with Tatum. So I would assume that maybe he hung out with Tatum before all of this. So yes, I think again at Sydney's house, it's the both of them. Now, to get into why Casey, why did they choose Casey Becker? A couple reasons. You know, it is told to us later in the fountain scene that Stu used to date Casey, and Randy implies that she dumped him for Steve. You know, he told Tatum a different story, but I think it's clear that she did dump him.
Hey, Stu, didn't you used to date Casey?
Yeah, for like 2 seconds. Before she dumped you for Steve.
I thought you dumped her for me.
I did, he's full of shit.
And are the police aware that you dated the victim?
Hey, what are you saying? That I killed her?
It would certainly improve your high school kill.
So this is a bit of a fun kind of petty revenge for Stu to kill Casey and Steve because she dumped him. Another reason is she's isolated. You know, she's in a very far location, so she's not going to get help right away, and they probably knew that she was going to be alone.
Listen, I am 2 seconds away from calling the police.
They'd never make it in time. We're out in the middle of nowhere.
Cut to also just kind of showing how smart the writing of their plan was. Kevin Williamson's writing of Stu and Billy's plan. Not only are the phone calls meant to kind of unnerve, unsettle, and scare the shit out of us as a viewer and the victim, but it also ties up the phone line so they can't call for help. So he's having her mess around on the phone this whole time. So, she's already in this isolated place. So she's never going to be able to call for help that's going to get there in any kind of time to save her.
I'm calling the police.
You should never say who's there. Don't you watch scary movies? It's a death wish.
So I think that's the second reason that they picked Casey. And then the third reason is she sits next to Sydney in class. So it's going to be a death she notices. It's going to rattle her. It's going to kind of get to her. And that's what they want. They want to mess with Sydney until it's time to reveal the truth to her.
From end to end. Casey Becker, she sits next to me in English. Not anymore.
So it's something she's going to notice. It's very close proximity to, where she has to see and think about it. So I think that's the third reason why they picked Casey, because she also sits next to Sydney in class. So she it's something she will definitely notice and feel and kind of get unnerved over. So then we get into Sydney at her house. Sydney goes home. We get kind of that very much music sting when she opens the closet to kind of let us know something. You know, they kidnapped Neil, took his keys, and you know, so they have keys to her house so they can easily let themselves in. So at some point, I'm sure Stu went to her house, unlocked the door, let himself in, and went into that closet to hide. And again, I think it's a situation where Billy was on the phone, keeping her talking, getting her outside, so when she came back in, then Stu could do this really big reveal pop out. We know it's Stu because he's doing the 2-knife hold. And he does headbutt her, and later we do see him checking his forehead for bumps and bruises. Definitely, I think this time is Stu, and obviously when, you know, he's at the door, then Billy comes to the window, so we know that this is actually Stu here when Sydney gets attacked. And obviously I don't think they kill her yet because she's part of kind of the reveal to her, I think, is the best part for them. So they are saving her to, you know, mess with her. Then we get to Tatum's house, and I believe that phone call was from Billy.
Leave me alone.
Looks like you fingered the wrong guy. Again.
Who are you?
I think Sydney reveals that when she kind of half-heartedly jokes that, you know, I think you maybe, you know, I think it would be really smart if you used your one phone call to call me so I wouldn't suspect you. And then he tries to play it off like, I called my dad, and when I didn't get an answer, the sheriff called my dad. You know, he kind of had to rush and come up with an excuse. So Sydney actually kind of figured it out, but because she's already not suspecting him, she kind of laughs it off, but she literally kind of figured it out.
Also, I was just curious, who'd you call?
Called my dad.
No, Sheriff Burke called your dad. I saw him.
But when I called, I didn't get an answer. You don't still think it was me, do you?
No. I was just thinking if it were you, it'd be a very clever way to throw me off track. You know, using your one phone call to call me so that I wouldn't think it was you. That's all.
So I'm pretty sure that phone call when she's at Tatum's house was Billy using his one phone call to call her to get her off his scent. And she does figure it out, but she's kind of half joking with it because she, at this point, trusts him again. Then we get the Ghostface that's in the bathroom. I believe this is just a random student because if we look up their pants, they're wearing like dark blue or like black jeans. And Stu, we see, is wearing like khaki pants that day. He's not wearing black kind of jeans. She just left Billy, you know, before she went into the bathroom, so there's no way there would be any crossover of Billy getting into a stall because he would have run into those two girls, and she comes out immediately as the two girls leave. So there's no way that Billy could have gone in there at any point to hide in a stall when she just left him. So I think that it's just a random student in there to freak her out, but you do hear him whisper, Sydney. So, you know, I think it's definitely just an added layer to freak you out. Also, when he comes out of the bathroom, he doesn't have a knife. So I definitely think it's just one of the students messing around. Then we have Principal Hembry. That is definitely Billy. I think at this point Stu has left to start setting up for his party, and we don't see Billy for a while. So I think Billy does dispatch of Principal Hembry. the reason for this, why Principal Himbry, is so that they can use him as a distraction later to get everyone to leave the party.
They found Principal Himbry dead. He was gutted and hung from the goalpost on the football field.
What are we waiting for? Let's go over there before they pry him down.
So ultimately, he takes out Principal Himbry. Maybe Stu comes back at some point to help him hang him up on the goalpost before the girls get there with the food and the snacks. And then he goes back to the house to start setting up for his party. And then, you know, we see two Ghostface, one kind of sneaking in the bushes, listening to Sydney and Tatum's conversation. And then we see one in the grocery store, which so silly. Like, why are you running around in this costume in broad daylight when the town's on a curfew and all this stuff? But yes, I think both those Ghostface that are lurking around are Billy, because at this point we haven't seen Billy in a while, and we know Stu is starting to get ready for this party. So then we get to the party, and Tatum is the next to be dispatched. And I do believe, again, this is Billy. We see Stu kind of send her out there, and he's kind of busy still hosting the party and keeping kind of people distracted.
Hey, grab another beer, would you?
Am I the beer wench?
I do believe this is Billy who takes out Tatum. And when I saw this movie in the theater for the first time, they did a re-release last year. I saw it in the theater, and every time I watch this movie, I think I pick up new things from it. A thing I noticed is, I think the reason that he did take out Tatum was Sydney does say a line of, you know, if Tatum sees you here, she'll draw blood. So I feel like it's a situation where Tatum would have been very protective, would have gotten in the way, wouldn't have let Billy talk to Sydney. So he needed to get her out of the way so that he could get Sydney alone, so that he could sympathize with her and play his little woe is me kind of story to her and get her to forgive him and hook up with him. But had Tatum been there, she would have been in the way, kind of protecting her friend and cock blocking him.
But I could talk to Sid alone.
You know, if Tatum sees you here, she'll draw blood.
So he had to take her out. And of course, Randy says there's always some bullshit reason to kill your girlfriend. So Stu probably didn't care all that much about Tatum. So, you know, go ahead and take out my girlfriend. It's definitely Billy, because, you know, as people are leaving the house, they're going up the walkway. Billy doesn't come from the walkway. He just comes from the side of the house. So obviously he was around back at the garage, and that's where he came from. So yes, that is the reason for killing Tatum, and it was definitely Billy. Obviously, when Billy is fake killed, that is Stu. We see the two-handed stab. And obviously, when he's chasing Sydney around the house, he seems to know the house very well because it is his house.
Oh my god.
Sydney.
Billy, watch out!
I think I originally thought that Stu kind of was just the one running around, you know, in that last kind of chase sequence. But also props again to Zach Cherry, who kind of brought up the point, like, Billy would not just be laying in the room, you know, doing nothing the whole time. So I do believe the ghost face that's kind of looming over Randy is also Stu. The one who kind of finds her and kills Kenny, I believe, was Stu. And the motive for killing Kenny is just he was in the way. He was blocking Sydney, blocking him to get to Sydney. So that's why he got dispatched. We see Dewey go towards the house. So obviously, I think the one who gets Dewey in the house, that is Billy, who has come down the stairs and put on the suit and kills, you know, seemingly kills Dewey. because, you know, no motive for killing Dewey. Dewey's just a cop who has a gun. He's in his way, so just take him out. No real motive there. I think at this point, it's just now we're just trying to add people to our big, luscious body count. So I think the one who stabs Dewey is in fact Billy. And the one who kind of messes with Sydney in the car, that is Billy. That's kind of why he kind of doesn't finish the job and he just disappears, because he has to get back to his you know, spot upstairs, you know, to make it come, you know, rolling down the stairs. So he doesn't take too much time to kind of mess with her. I think Stu is kind of still running around outside. He finds Gail because it gets confirmed later that, you know, because Billy, I think, says to him, I thought she was dead. And Stu confirms she looked dead, still does.
Man, I thought she was dead. She looked dead, man. Still does.
So I think Stu was out there. He checked Gail in the truck and she looked dead to him. So that was his confirmation. Randy sees him wandering around out there and wonders what he's doing. So he kind of gets scared and thinks that Stu is in on it.
No, I didn't.
And that's when kind of Sydney locks both of them out. Billy comes down the stairs now, and we get our whole big reveal of the finale. So that's where my head is at in terms of who was who, why who was killed, and yeah. So that's kind of my perspective on it. You can watch, I'm sure, a ton of other videos on people's thoughts of who killed who when it was Ghostface Stu, when was Ghostface Billy. But that's kind of where I see it. Thanks to people like Zach Cherry, who did some really amazing breakdowns. My breakdown was probably pretty sloppy, but just definitely something I have fun thinking about, so I wanted to just make a video on it and share it with you guys. So let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, if you think there's a different way it could have been done, or different reasonings as to why they killed people when they killed people. But yeah, just have fun kind of just thinking about this movie and analyzing it and breaking it down. So yes, I will be back with more Scream videos, fun things I've noticed throughout watching the movies. I will do one on each film and all kinds of fun Scream stuff, because I'm just excited for Scream 6. So thank you for taking the time to check out my fun Scream video. I mean, at least I had fun making this video, so I hope you had fun watching it. But please put a like on there, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of the things. You know, we're trying to just grow and build our little channel. So, and we're doing that by just talking about things we love. So if you love them too, then yeah, hit the like button. And thank you guys so much for just checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.